So I've started the recording. Hello guys, this is me, and today we are going to learn about SQL injections, learn how to detect and exploit SQL injection vulnerabilities. And it is a medium level of difficulty, and maybe we will learn firstly SQL injections, then we will try SQL injection rooms, we will learn SQL map. I have decided to learn basics first. I have researched about SQL injection, but SQL injection don't work in modern softwares because they are mostly modern softwares are aware of SQL injections like normal common SQL injections, but they work when we like do advancement in them, like playing along with the website code, playing along with JavaScript and all. So we will start SQL injection today, and we will try to learn and note how SQL injection works. So we have joined the room. There is a brief SQL structured query language, mostly referred as SQLi. It is SQL injection. It is an attack on web-based database server that causes malicious query to be executed. What a web application communication with a database using input from user that hasn't been properly validated. There are runs potentially of an attacker being able to steal, delete, or alter private customer data. This is why SQL is the oldest web application vulnerabilities, and that's why many softwares that are present in the market for bug bounties or to test them have like fixed or patched their code against SQL injections for sure. This is outdated concept, but it builds our basic, and we will learn how web application hacking or web application gets compromised. So we'll submit that, and just let me check if we are recording or not. What does SQL stands for? So SQL stands for structured query language. So sorry, structured query language. I'm just doing spelling mistakes. Structured query language, SQL stands for what is a database. So we will simultaneously note that I have physical notes. You can note that on keep note or something. And today also I will repeat the same. I am not here to teach anyone. I am just documenting my progress in like cybersecurity, and I want to become consistent in cybersecurity for sure because I love this field. So what is SQL injection full form? We'll start from that. I am making physical notes, and you can make notes on keep note, or there are many other applications. You can make notes on notepad also, save them in separate file. I have notepad file also, and I do prefer physical books or something, notebooks. So here I'm just writing the full form as SQL structured query language. That's it. And we will see what is database. If you are not if you are not used to working with database or exploiting them, there's probably some new terminology to get used to. So let's start with some basic on how database are structured and how they work. What is database? Database is way of electronically storing collection of data in organized manner. Collection of data in organized manner. Database. Collection of data in organized manner. We'll just note the key points, and when we revise the topic or we need to refer something, we will just turn the pages and we'll get what we need. A database is controlled by DBMS, which is Database Management System, which is an acronym for Database Management System. DBMS fall into two camps: relation and non-relational. The room focuses of the focus of this room will be relational databases. Some common ones you will come across are MySQL, Microsoft SQL, Server, Access, PostgreSQL, SQLite. We'll explain the difference between relational and non-relational database at the end of this task. It is important to learn. We'll note the relation between relational and non-relational database, and we will note about MySQL, Microsoft and all. Within the database you can have multiple databases, each containing its own set of related data. Okay, for example, you may have a database called shop. Within the database you want to store information about product available to purchase, user who have signed up to your online shop, and information about the order you received. You would store this information separately in a database using something called tables. Tables are identified as unique name or of for each one. You can see the structure diagram below. Database server, there is a table, there is some sub database, or what should we call them. Server is connected to database, shop, staff and accounts, and in that there is a user table, there is a product table, there is a order table, user information audit table, customer order and payroll. What are tables? Tables are made up of rows and columns. This is very important. I get confused between number of rows and number of columns. I have learned C programming, and in that in array I was confused about number of rows and number of columns in 2D array. So just remember, number of columns are this. There are three number of columns and there are 3 rows, or we can say 4 rows. Columns, each column referred to as a field has a unique name per table. When creating a column, you will set a type of data will contain common integers, numbers or dates. Some databases can contain much more complex data such as geospatial, I don't know what is that, which contains location information. Okay, so data that is stored in like Google Map or something. Setting the data type also ensures that incorrect information isn't stored, such as hello world being stored in the column meant for dates. So data types like varchar, if you are aware of SQL, we use for storing variables and characters. Rows are records of rows or records contain individual line of data. So columns are named, and we can name rows also, but we prefer giving them a number, such as ID number given here. Relational versus non-relational database. This is what we need to note down in our notebook or any software that you are using. Relational databases, I'm not teaching you, but I'm just telling. A relational database stores information in tables, and often tables share information between them. A relational database stores info in table, and table shares information between them. Tables share information. So there was an error from my side. I just messed up my OBS and all. So where were we? We were at the relational versus non-relational databases. The tables share information between them. They use columns to specify and define the data being stored, and rows actually to store the data. Okay. the table share information between them. The table share information between them exactly. And the tables will contain a common column, a column with the unit id primary key, which will then be used in other tables to reference it. Okay, so in relational database, unique primary key is used as reference in other table, that is basically relational database. Non-relational database sometimes called NoSQL. So relational database uses primary key to link elements or to link a specific column to a row. So we'll move on to non-relational databases. Non-relational databases, sometimes called NoSQL on the other hand, are any sort of database that does not use table, columns or rows. A specific data type layout does not need to be constructed so each row of data can contain different information, giving more flexibility over a relational database. Some popular databases of this type are MongoDB, Cassandra and Elasticsearch. We will learn what MongoDB, Cassandra and Elasticsearch means now. That's what we have learned. What is the acronym of software that controls databases? It is DBMS. So we'll know that acronym of software that uses databases. Acronym of software that use database, and we know it is DBMS. So we'll just enter. It is correct for sure. What is the name of grid-like structure which holds data? T is stable. It is very basic information. It should know what is the name of the grid structure that holds data. It is stable. Structurized data is stored in tabular form. What is SQL? So we are now at the SQL part of this. SQL is a feature-rich language used for query database. These SQL queries are better referred to as statements. The simplest of commands, which we will cover in this task, is used to retrieve, select, update, insert, delete data. Although somehow similar, some database servers have their own syntax and slightly changes to how things work. All of these examples are based on MySQL database. After learning the lessons, you will easily be able to search for alternative syntax online for different servers. It is worth noting that SQL is not case sensitive. Okay, so we'll note that SQL is not case sensitive. Select star from user. I have learned SQL but not that much advanced in that, but I know that star is used for displaying all elements or something like that. It is like control A in SQL in short. I don't know how to frame that, but it is like control A in SQL. Select username password from users. Okay, so we can select a specific primary key, or we can say that select username comma password from user, and a semicolon, which is very important in SQL queries. We can see that select star from user limit 1. Okay, so limit shows the limit of the ID. For example, if we set limit 2, and that should show 1 and 2. Okay, select star from user limit select star from user where admin, so it will basically select the admin one. So maybe it is useful for us cause some of the websites, the admin name, admin panel is not changed, and we can exploit them for sure. Username is equals to admin. Okay, this will only return the rows where the username is equal to admin. Select from username where username is not equal to admin. Okay, this is relational operator, not equal to, so it is basic. Username is equal to John or username is equal to admin, so it will return both. These are some basic queries. This is or, this is and, we need to learn that for sure. Select star from user where username like a ampersand. A ampersand, what does this mean? Use the like clause allow you to specify data that isn't an exact match but instead either starts, contains or ends with certain characters. Okay, starts, contains and end with certain characters. This return any rows with username beginning with letter A. Okay, so username beginning with letter A. It is worth noting because we might use that somewhere in the same, either in query or somewhere else. N, like this, John ends with N, admin ends with N, Martin ends with N. It is quite basic. This returns any rows with username ending with the letter N. Select star from user where username like percentage %mi. Okay, so it is like Google search. When we search something, it shows us result for the whole thing, like am I admin. No, it is not like Google search, but it is somehow relatable to that. Union, the union statement combines two results or two or more select statements to retrieve data from either single or multiple elements. It is, the union is worth noting because we might use union in many places. The union combines the result of two or more select statement. Combines result of two or more select statements. The columns have to be similar of similar data type and the column order has to be same. This might sound not very clear, so let's use the analogy. Say a company wants to create a list of their addresses for all customers and suppliers to post a new catalog. We have one table called customer with the following content, okay, and other called suppliers with the following content. Using the following SQL statement, we can gather the result from the two tables, put them into one result. Oh, select name, address, city, postcode from customers. Union, name, address, city, postcode from union. Select company, address, city. Okay, so we get the name of the users here and address of the users. We get the name of the company and address of the company. Okay, so it is quite basic. Select name from user union. Select company. Select company name from suppliers. We will note that insert statements tells we wish to insert new row of data into the table into users, tells the database which table we wish to insert data. Okay, insert into user, we need this query. insert into user, username, password, value, Bob, password 123. Insert into user, username, password. Okay, this is the format and these are the values, and they are also in the specific format. Okay, insert into user. We can add multiple values by adding commas instead of and semicolon. Username, password, values, Bob, password 123. Okay, like update user, set username, root, password is equals to pass 123. So what will get updated? The update statement tells the database to we wish to update one or more rows of data within a table. You specify the table you wish to update using update table name set, and then select the field or fields you wish to update as comma separated. Okay, username is equal to root, password is equals to where username is equals to admin. So we updated the above table admin, username is equals to root, password is equals to pass123, where username. Okay, so we updated the admin with root. So here you can see we get root as username instead of admin and password instead of p4sshword. So update statement, we will note that also. Update users, set username equal root, comma, password equals pass123, where username equals admin. So it is quite simple. We can just edit username and password, delete from user where username is equal to Martin. It is exactly equal, is it exactly same as insert? No, it is exactly same as select from user, delete from users. It deletes all the users. What is the SQL statement to retrieve data? We will write select, and we will note this question answers as it shows the key points of the whole task, like what we learned in this whole task. And if you don't want to learn this, or you don't want to refer any content, you can just skip to the answer the question below part, and just question, you can answer the questions. If you are getting like correctly the answer, you are guessing the answers correctly, then you can just complete the task in like 1 or 2 minutes, or else you will read the content and it might take much longer. What SQL clause can be used to retrieve data from multiple tables? We will just note select one, retrieve data from multiple table, retrieve data from multiple table. It is union. What SQL is used to add data? Used to add data. Insert. I have just noted my answers and I will just write it down here. Union and insert. And it is correct for sure because we have read the content about what is SQL injection. The point wherein a web application uses SQL can turn into SQL injection, where user provides data included in SQL query. What does it look like? Take the following scenario where you have come across an online blog. In each blog entry has a unique ID number, like ID. This is the ID number web.thm blog. Then question mark ID number. From the URL above, you can see that the blog entry selected comes from ID parameter in the query string. The web application need to retrieve the article from the database. Select star from blog where ID is equals to 1 and private equals 0, limit 1. From what you have learned is in the previous task, you should be able to work out that SQL statement above. For sure, we are able to work out that SQL statement above, as was mentioned at the start of this task. SQL injection is introduced when user input is introduced into data query. In this sentence, the ID parameter, the query string, is used directly in the SQL query. Let's pretend the article ID is 2 is still locked as private, so it cannot be viewed on the website. So we could call the URL, which is like it maybe which would then in turn produce the SQL statement. The semicolon in the URL signifies the end of the statement, and the 2 dash was everything forward to be treated as comment. So we provide semicolon as an input, and the 2 dash it acts as comment. Running the query will get this query, and which will return the article the value of ID 2. This is not just one example of SQL vulnerability of type called in-band SQL injection. So we will note in-band SQL injection, and in that we will write this query and we'll write this query. So these are the two basic queries that we will write, and it just like builds the base of SQL injection. This was the most basic SQL injection that we could learn. What character signifies the end of an SQL query? It is a semicolon that signifies the end of an SQL query. So we'll just note that in-band SQLi. In-band SQLi injection. In-band SQLi injection is the easiest type of to detect and exploit. In-band SQLi just refer to the same method of communication being used to exploit the vulnerability and also receive the result. For example, discovering an SQL injection vulnerability on a website page, then able to extract data from the database or the same page. Okay, so in-band SQL, band SQL. I'll note that so in band SQL we saw in band SQL error based SQL, This type of SQL is most useful for easily obtaining information about the database structure. As error messages from database are printed directly to the browser screen, this can often enumerate a whole database. So this is also basic SQL injection which does not work on modern sites, but it builds our base about how SQL injection works. And if we get, by chance, if we get any error based SQL injection, we are able to exploit that for sure. Union based SQL injection. This type of injection utilizes SQL union operator along a select statement to return additional result to the page. This method is most common way. ID equals to 1, enter. Syntax error, we get a syntax error. As you will see, SQL error informing you of an error in your syntax. The fact that you have received this error message confirm that SQL injection vulnerability works. So it is quite sure. The first thing we need to do is return data to the browser without displaying an error message. Firstly, we will try union operator, one union select one, or one union select one two. So we'll use one union select one two first. Union select one comma two. We need to add space. Union, one more space, and we'll just enter this. So we get an error again. So let's repeat by adding another column. Okay, comma 3. We are just following these articles. You will see the article that is made up of the result of union 1 2 3. We can start using returned values to retrieve more useful information. First we'll get the database 0 1 union. Okay, so we are just writing the database instead of 3. Database, we get the name of the database as SQLi1. Okay, so we are successful in doing that. Our next query will gather the list of tables that are in the database. Okay, so we will write this command in our window. So our next query will gather a list of tables that are in the database 0 union. So we'll just copy that database and we'll replace this with that database. Enter. Article staff, we get article staff. To retrieve the information, we'll do this. Actually we need to learn the basic of SQL for this, because 0 union select 1 2 group concatenate column name from group concat. From where do we get group concat table name? So we will need the knowledge of SQL, basic knowledge of SQL for sure for this SQL injection. And without that, maybe SQL injections are not possible, because this is a crafted payload that we are just copying and pasting it. And when we when we are like in real world, if we get any database, if we by chance get any SQL injection query and we are able to manage the data, we are able to see the database, then these commands will not work. The one listed here, we need to see the username, password, or there might be any other type or like much bigger database would be there, and we need to learn SQL for that for sure. Again, we use the group concat method to return all the rows of in one string and make it easier to read. We also have added a colon to split username and password from each other instead of being separated by. So this is like we are extracting username and passwords from this database. So we get the passwords. You have now access Martin password to enter and move on to the next level. So what is Martin's password? It is PA dollar sign twice WORD. This is our flag. The one who have joined this video to see flags can skip to this part. But how would you know you have to skip to this part? I don't know. Blind SQL. This was the example of in-band SQL that we did. We now will see blind SQL. Unlike in-band SQL, we can see the result of the attack directly on the screen. Blind SQL is what we can see the result directly by what we get little to no feedback to confirm whether our injection queries were in fact successful or not. This is because the error message have been displayed, but the injection still works regardless. Authentication bypass. One of the most straightforward blind SQL injection technique is when bypassing authentication methods such as login forms. In this instance, we aren't that interested in retrieving data from the database. We just want to get past the login. Login forms that are connected to the database of users are often developed in such a way that the web application isn't interested in the content, okay, of the username and password, but more in whether the two make a matching pair in the username user table. The basic terms the web application is making database. Do you have the username Bob and the password 123, password Bob 123? The database replies with either yes or no, true or false, depending on the answer dictates whether the web application lets you proceed or not. Taking the about task level 2. So this is the most basic SQL injection that we'll see in this SQL. So we need to add the username by getting the username from here. Maybe I just exposed my email address here. Just need to add a cut here. We can I'll see the duration 32 minutes. you so I just did a big blunder. I just added this payload in the username field, and we got the uh, level 2 flag, and it is quite easy and it is not found in modern application. What is the flag of I'm moving to level 3? It is incorrect. The answer is incorrect. Please. SQL injection, blind SQL, level 2 blind SQL. TryHackMe in band SQL injection was different, I think. No, it was same. Oh, okay. Here is these. We get this flag. We have proceeded to level 3 boolean based authentication bypass. This was authentication bypass, and now we'll see what boolean based blind SQLi is. Boolean based SQL injection refer to the response where we receive from our injection attempts, which could be true, yes, true, false, yes, no, on, off, 1, 0, or any response that can only have two outcomes. That outcome can confirm the SQL injection payload was either successful or not. On the first inspection, you might feel like limited response can't provide much information. Still, with just these two responses, it's possible to enumerate a whole database structure and content. Practical on level 3 injection example machine, you are presented with a mock web browser with a URL. Username is equals to admin. Taken true. The browser body contains taken true. This API endpoint replicates a common feature found on many sign-up forms. This is a common feature found on many sign-up forms. This admin is most probably encoded with some like encoded or hashed, and which checks whether a username had already registered the prompt of the user different name because the taken value is true. So whether a username has already been registered to the prompt, the user choose different username because the taken value is set to true. We can assume the username admin is already registered. We can confirm by changing the username in the mock website from admin to admin 123. Okay, so just change admin to admin 123 and we get false. And the SQLi query that is processed in the following is also given below. Here it is the SQLi query. The output when you have to control is the username in the string. Keeping the username as admin123, we can start appending this to try and make database confirm true things. Okay. So let's like in the previous level, our first task is to establish the number of columns in the users table, which we can achieve by using union. So we'll just change the URL of admin to this and, and just enter that. Taken false. Keep on adding more columns until we get true. So we'll add more columns like select 1, 2, 3. So adding 3 columns we get the true value now, or that our number of columns has been established. We can work and enumerate to the database. Our first task is to discover the database name. So we'll add database instead of this. This is all the concept that we have learned in the previous tasks, and it is quite easy. So we'll just now you move on to the next character of the database name until you find another response. For keep on processing. So this is what we need to add to the SQL query, that keep on processing until you discover a character or characters of a database name. So S-A B C D E F G. So like we established the database name, which we can now use to enumerate the table name using a similar method by utilizing the information schema database. Try setting the username of the following as the following. So we'll just copy that. Will get a false response. You will finally end up discovering the table SQLi 3 database username, which can confirm. So what was the fault in the previous one that we added? Admin 123 table schema SQLi 3. The table lastly we know now need to enumerate the columns name in the user table so we can properly search it for login credentials again, and we can use the information schema database and the information we have already gained to query it. For column name, using payload below, we search the column table. Okay, so we'll use payload given below to search for the column table. It shows false, and again you'll need the cycle through letters, numbers, and when we cycle through letters and numbers we get the desired outcome. Repeating this process 3 times will enable you to discover columns ID, username and password, which now you can use to query the user table. These 3 times I will try that once again. Okay, there is another query that we are given with so we need to cycle through all the characters. Okay, B C D F G H, I think it is S G K L M N O P. So we have cycled to all the characters. Once you have cycled to all the characters, will the payload show below shows how to find the password. Okay, so here is the payload that shows the password. We need to add T here, and that's it. We get false again. Cycling through all the characters, you will discover the password is 38445. the password. Username is admin 123. So there is a cut in the recording. So we got the admin password, username equals admin password. This is the mock username that we have used, union select 123 from users, where username is equals to admin. So we are using from command, and we are using tables, table name users, where username is equals to admin, and password like a. So we are enumerating two different characters that will give us the password of the admin. Like we are enumerating through this, like we have seen in the previous task how to get element related to a b c d, or we when we add numbers we'll get 3845 as password of admin panel. And here is the flag of task 4, and we'll just enter that blind SQLi time-based. A time-based blind SQL injection is very similar to above boolean-based one, in that the same requests are sent but there is no virtual indicator. The time delayed is introduced in built-in methods sleepx. So there is something like sleep along the union statement. The sleep method will only ever get executed upon a successful union select statement. So for example, when trying to establish the number of columns in the table, you would use the following query. Okay, if there was no pause in response time, we know that the query was unsuccessful. So like on previous task, we add another column. So we'll enumerate this. This is what the payload. So this shows that it takes the request takes 5-second delay and confirms a successful execution of union statement, and that there are two columns, sleep 5 and 2 as we added. You can now repeat the enumeration process from boolean based SQL injection and sleep method to the union select statement. If you are struggling to find the table name, the below query should help you. So there is a refer equal admin union select sleep 5 where database like you. So this is the query that we needed. It shows the result after 5 seconds. It takes a total time of 5 seconds. Like we now will enumerate through the this is not what we needed. This will copy and we'll just paste it here. Yeah, the query takes 5 seconds to get processed, so it took 2 seconds. A, okay, B, C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S. So I think there is a password with S. It takes time. T U V W X Y Z. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. If you are struggling to find the table name, the below query might help you. Where database like you, so we'll get the boolean based expression for here also. And we'll just add it here, and we'll replace the first element with sleep, sleep 1, and the third, so there are two elements only, where database so this is what we needed. From username is equal to password like you. I think we have crafted the query very incorrectly. So give me a second, I will see what is the mistake that we have done in this same. This is a SQL injection of it will use the boolean base, but we have to craft it such that it bypasses both boolean and time based SQL also. So we'll just go through time based one. So I was stuck here and I got some ideas to do the same. We'll select this query, we'll add it here, and we'll just edit this 3. We'll add a sleep command, and we'll add a 5 here. Refer admin 123, admin select sleep from user admin. Password, like it is a number based password for sure, as I have enumerated through all the 2, 3, 4. It took 5 seconds on 4. So I think 4 is what we need. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. A, B. I think I got a way to do this, and it is like we need to enumerate through this only. We were enumerating through to something very different from this. 8, 9, 0, B, C, D, U, P, F, U, R, G, H, I, J, K. So we'll read the time-based SQL injection once again. The time-based SQL injection is very similar to the above boolean-based. If we get stuck anywhere, the best advice, if anyone gets stuck anywhere, you just need to read the theory portion once again, and if it states that we need to read the boolean-based theory also, we'll read that also. So we are reading time-based theory again. A time-based SQL injection very similar to the above boolean-based one is that in that same requests are sent, but there is no visual indicator of your query is wrong this time. Instead of your indicator, correct query is based on time. The time delay introduced built in. So there is a time delay when our query is correct. There is a time delay. So for example, if there is no pause, then we are incorrect. If there is a pause, then we are correct. The payload should contain, they should have 5. You can now repeat the enumeration of boolean based, adding the sleep method to the union select statement. There is a union select statement below. As we have seen, union select statement, we will exchange this with that, and we just need to delete this, and we need to add a sleep of maybe 3 seconds. Password u. I will try numbers first. 2, 3. I am having a query that where will our, so this is 4 took a long to get displayed, or like, so 4 is like kind of suspicious in my opinion. Like, we are getting a pause on 4, so we are getting request time. If you are struggling to table name, the below query should help you. I am getting a pause on 4. Where is the final flag to complete this? There is no flag. I am not getting any. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So there is a pause on 4 1, but we cannot see any SQL result here. So this is what we wrote. We'll just remove a referrer. I think I have made this mistake. That's why I'm getting stuck. We'll write 4 here. Just change that. We are not getting any such. I don't think the password is displayed directly, but So there is a way. When I read this, I got a way to get the answer of that. The previous query that we solved was totally incorrect because we did a very rough thing which is not allowed in ethical hacking for sure. We directly picked the answer and we pasted it here. So 4 takes 3 seconds of time. So we'll add a 1 here, a 2 here, a 3 here, a 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the second digit is 9. We are enumerating. Actually, I was stuck there and I saw boolean based, time based both. So we are enumerating through the passwords. For example, if the password is in number form, if we write 4, there is no such way to get the output as 4xxy, something like that. We need to enumerate the whole password in this process because we don't get like it is don't get any visual indicators in this. So we just need to enumerate two different things: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are enumerating through different password attempts: 6, 7, 6. I think so it is 6, 4, 9, 6, 1. So it is 4961. I have just noted the password, and now we'll just admin password is 4961. It was not easy, but we learned something about SQL today. Out of the band SQL Out of the band, SQL isn't as common as it either depends on specific features that being enabled on database server or web application, business logic which makes some kind of external network call based on the result of SQL query. And out of the band is classified having two different communication channels, one to launch the attack and other to gather the result. For example, the attack channel could be a web request, and the data gathering channel could be monitored as HTTP/DNS request made to a service you control. Okay, an attacker may make a request to the website vulnerable to SQL injection with an injection payload. The website makes an SQL query to the database, which also passes the hacker's payload. So this is like out of the box. No, it is not out of band SQLi. It is present in the advanced SQLi one. Uh, as far as I remember, this is the only topic that differs normal SQL from advanced SQL. An attacker makes a request on HTTP The website makes SQL query to the database, which also passes the hacker's payload. The payload contains a request which forces an HTTP request back to the hacker machine containing the data from the database. So it makes a HTTP or DNS request to the database, and it returns back to the hacker with our output. Name a protocol beginning with D that can be exfiltrated. It is a DNS protocol, DNS protocol. So an impactful SQL injection vulnerabilities are developers to have to protect them. Prepared statement with parameterized query, input validation, escaping user input. Uh, these are some commands for developers to get saved from SQL injection. Name a method from protecting yourself from SQL injection. Something like we will write prepared statements. I'm just blind guessing this. It was quite a bit tough room for me. You want like a league access, ready to compete? No, I'm not ready to compete for sure, cause I need to do many other things. So this was it for SQL injection, and hope so I'm doing another thing. There is some time remaining. I will sit after 5 to 10 minutes and I'll start record button again. That's it for this SQL injection one. We'll see the next one.